Hi, I'm Vincent. Welcome to Trunk Flaky Tests. Let me show you how Trunk Flaky Tests can help you detect, quarantine, and eliminate flaky tests from your repos. Now, flaky tests are really annoying because they give off false alarms, they block you from being able to merge your PRs, and they waste a lot of time when you rerun those tests or debug those tests. Trunk Flaky Tests can help you put an end to all of those annoying things. Let me show you how. The biggest problem is communication, or rather lack of it. Developers are quite happy to accept flaky tests as a part of life and sweep them under the rug. That's why the number of flaky tests in a repo is often underestimated. In the flaky test dashboard, you'll get an overview of how many tests are flaky, how many tests are broken, and how those tests are impacting your PRs. In fact, we think the best way to measure the impact of flaky tests on your team is to track the number of PRs they impact. And when you fix flaky tests, you should fix the tests impacting the most PRs first. And as you fix those tests, you can see the trends in your repo's overall test health using the chart below your key metrics. Then, below your repo's key metrics, you can see all of your tests sorted by whether they are flaky, broken, or healthy. The test's name and file path is shown all the way on the left. Then you'll see the health status of the test, how many PRs have been impacted by this test, and how long that test has been flaky for. The data that you see in Trunk is based off of test results uploaded from your CI jobs. Trunk provides a CLI for you to upload your test results, which is language, environment, and test framework agnostic. For engineers in your team, this information about your test health will be reflected right in their PRs in the form of a PR test summary. The PR test summaries alert about test failures in the PR that are known to be from flaky tests, broken tests, and quarantine failures. Now, if you're not familiar with the concept of quarantining flaky tests, we'll cover that in more detail later in this video. You can click on the link in the GitHub comments to see a full report where all of the test failures and the test health status is shown in one comprehensive report. This short-circuits the debugging process, so you don't have to waste time digging through test failures that are not new in your PR, but also if any tests look suspicious, any failure looks out of place, you can see the full stack trace of that test with a single click, so you no longer have to flip through hundreds or thousands of lines of CI logs. Other than helping you detect flaky tests, Trunk will help you triage and manage work allocated to fixing these flaky tests as well. Let me show you what that means. So for me, there's a specific test failure that failed in some of my PRs. I suspect it's a flaky test and I want to take a closer look. I can search for this particular test using the search bar. I think it has something to do with the user profiles. Okay, so we found this test with a filter. Let's take a closer look at it. When debugging tests, you want to see everything in one place. You want to see when the test started failing, the different ways it's been failing, if it's been flaky before, if anybody is currently working on a fix. All of this will be shown in one place in the test details page. The top boxes show key metrics about the test, and I can see that Trunk has labeled it flaky, how frequently it flakes, and the number of PRs it's impacted in the last week. You can also see for how long this test has been flaky. Now, sometimes this helps you trace back to a certain set of changes that could have caused this, but in this case, it seems like the test has been flaky ever since it was written. At the bottom, we see all of the unique ways this test fails, as well as where and how frequently. We can even flip through the different stack traces of similar failure reasons, each linking to the related PR or CI job. Now, I don't have the context to fix this test myself. What I could do is use the create ticket feature to create a new ticket in Jira. And we'll be adding linear and GitHub issues integration soon. We also provide webhooks for further automation and customization to your heart's content. For now, let me show you the Jira integration. When you click Create Ticket, the ticket is created automatically with links to past failures and all of the metadata needed to get started investigating this flaky test. When someone picks it up, they can glance through the description to get an idea of the scope and context of the task. Then they can click the link to jump immediately back to Flaky Test for further investigation. As they update the status of this ticket in Jira, this information is reflected back in real time into Trunk Flaky Test, so everyone is in sync about who is working on which Flaky Test and how far they've gone. Again, a key part of reducing the impact of Flaky Tests is just good communication. right? Communicating whether or not there's already an active effort to fix a flaky test prevents duplicated work. But while my team works on fixing the flaky test, I want to be able to do something to prevent it from being able to block other people's PRs. What we can do is quarantine the flaky test. Quarantining lets you isolate failures for known flaky tests so they don't fail your CI jobs while still running them. Quarantining looks for known flaky tests and determines which tests should be isolated at runtime, so you can avoid code changes that usually is required to disable flaky tests. I can enable quarantining in trunk flaky test settings, and once I do that, the flaky test uploader will start quarantining tests. Just remember to enable continue on failure in your CI jobs so that the CI job continues to the next step where trunk flaky tests uploader can check against the known flaky tests and broken tests and quarantine the test failures that were not introduced by your pull request. Again, quarantining decides which tests to isolate at runtime based on which ones are known to be flaky, so you don't have to comment out or disable tests. We recognize that there are exceptions to everything. In certain cases, you want to always quarantine a test, and in other cases, you never want to quarantine a certain test. And when that quarantine setting is manually overwritten, it will be reflected in the status history of the test, as well as in the audit log of your project, so that there is a traceable record of who on which day changed the quarantining settings. We're excited to open the Trunk Flaky Test beta to the public, and we'd love to hear what you think. You can join the Flaky Test public beta at app.trunk.io and visit us on Slack if you have any questions.